Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Jason White, and this is Jason's Weird Reads, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my late spring and summer TBR. Alright, so, I'm not very good at sticking to TBRs, but I still like making them because they're fun. You kind of get a perspective on what you want to read, and I know that I still want to continue with my science fiction year, which I've been trying to do. I haven't been sticking to it as well, but you're going to see a lot of science fiction on this list. There's some horror too, so I don't think I organized them by genre, so I hope that's okay. But let's get into the books right away because this video could end up being very long. I don't know. Alright, so first up I have All Systems Red by Martha Wells. Now, this book a lot of people have been talking about, and I've been wanting to read for a long time. I'm going to read you the synopsis here quickly. In a corporate-dominated spacefaring future, planetary missions must be approved and supplied by the company. For their own safety, exploratory teams are accompanied by company-supplied security androids. But in a society where contracts are awarded to the lowest bidder, safety isn't a primary concern. On a distant planet, a team of scientists is conducting surface tests, shadowed by their company-supplied droid self-aware sec unit that has hacked its own government module and refers to itself, though never allowed, as Murderbot. Scornful of humans, Murderbot wants to be left alone long enough to figure out who it is. But when a neighboring mission goes dark, it's up to the scientists and Murderbot to get to the truth. Now, I like this. Sounds kind of funny because you have like this Murderbot, and it's supposed to be fierce and terrible, but it likes just being at home watching its shows. So next book is the Bobbyverse trilogy. I'm kind of hoping to. I believe it's a trilogy. It might not be. It might be 4 books now. I'm not sure. But anyways, I read the first book a couple years ago, and I absolutely loved it. And I want to continue it, but I'm gonna have to reread the first one. So I want to listen to the first one, We Are Legion, and then continue on with the next 2 books. The basic premise is a man is his consciousness is uploaded into a computer, and then he's cloned, and then he's sent to space, basically, and then he continues to reclone himself. His mission is to clone his consciousness and put them in computers and then send them to other planetary systems to try to find like habitable planets and whatnot. And the very interesting thing that happens to him is when he's doing these clonings, he finds that, you would think if you're cloning yourself or your consciousness, your personality would remain the same, and you would always be the same person going out. But what he finds is he doesn't get along with these other clones, and a lot of these clones are the exact opposite of who he is. And it's a very interesting story. I want to revisit it, and so definitely I want to get back to the Bobbyverse at some point by Dennis E. Taylor. I don't know if I mentioned his name before, but there it is, Dennis E. Taylor. Another reread I want to get to is the Outside series by Ada Hoffman. I read this a few years ago again, and I really enjoyed it, but only the first book was out at that time. And when the other 2 books came out, I was busy reading other things. So I want to reread The Outside to get a refresher, and then read the next 2 books. Now, like I said, it's by Ada Hoffman. I read it a couple years ago, but I don't really remember it. So I'm going to read you the synopsis for this one. Autistic scientist Yasira Sheen has developed a radical new energy drive that could change the future of humanity. But when she activates it, reality warps, destroying the space station and everyone aboard. The AI gods who rule the galaxy declare her work heretical, and Yasira is abducted by their agents. Instead of simply executing her, they offer mercy, so long as if she'll help them hunt down bigger targets, her own mysterious vanished mentor. With her homeworld's fate in the balance, Yasira must choose who to trust, the gods and their ruthless human angels, or the rebel scientists, whose unorthodox mathematics could turn her world inside out. And I remember being very entertained by this book, and I like that the main character is autistic. And I like that for various reasons. All right, next up, I want to read this book. I've been wanting to read it for a long time, but now it's an Apple TV series, and Apple's not known for canceling their goddamn shows, unless this was meant just to be one series. I don't know. So I want to read these books and then get to the series, and that's Wool by Hugh Howey. I'm going to read you the synopsis here. Thousands of them have lived underground. They've lived there so long, there are only legends about people living anywhere else. Such a life requires rules, strict rules. There are things that must not be discussed, like going outside. Never mention you might like going outside, or you'll get what you wish for. Bum, 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 bum. That's the only synopsis I have here for this. This just sounds like a lot of fun, and I've heard a lot of really great things about these books. So I've been wanting to read it for a long time, and I was considering reading it like next after I'm done the what I'm reading right now, but something else kind of won over that, so we'll get to that in a second. Next up, I have This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marceau. I hope I pronounced that right. This is getting a lot of attention in the horror realms of things, and I've been wanting to read it for a long time. So this follows the gut-wrenching journey of Miller and her estranged mother, Sylvie, who have always had a tense relationship. After Miller's father dies, she agrees to a girl's vacation away from the city to reconnect with the only family she has left. Although she's eager to make things work, Miller can't help but worry that her mother is seeing their countryside retreat as a fun weekend getaway instead of what it really is. A last-ditch effort to repair their relationship. Unfortunately, that quickly becomes the least of Miller's problems. Sylvie's trapped in the past, and if Miller's not careful, she will be too. A cross between Stephen King's Misery and Stephanie Rubble's Dating Rose Gold, This Is Where We Talk Things Out explores horror of a familial trauma, mother-daughter relationship, and what happens when we don't let go. So that sounds interesting to me. I really like the family dynamic there, and I like to see. I want to know where this goes, honestly. Next up, I have another horror book here, and I've been wanting to read David Sodergren for like ever, and I just haven't. I don't know why, but the horror, that sounds like a really great place to start. And let me tell you why by reading the synopsis. Muriel Macaulay has lived in the Scottish fishing village of Witch Haven all her life. She was born there, and she intends to die there. But when an overseas property developer threatens to evict the residents from their home and raze Witch Haven to the ground in the name of progress, all seems lost until the day a mysterious fog bank creeps inland. The Har. To some it brings redemption, to others it brings only madness and death. What macabre secrets lie within the Har? I love that. So yeah, I've been wanting to read David Sodergren forever, and this one has a very strong sort of The Fog by Carpenter's movie back in like 1980, 1979. The Mist a little bit maybe. It has like some cosmic horror elements to it, seemingly. So yeah, definitely that. Another book I almost read, or I might read soon, very, very, very soon, is Episode 13 by Greg D. Louis, I believe is how you pronounce his name. This is getting a lot of buzz on booktube right now, and I like the premise, and I'll get to that in a second. First, the synopsis. Fade to Black is the newest hit ghost hunting reality TV show. Led by husband and wife team Matt and Claire Kirkland, it delivers weekly hauntings investigated by a dedicated team of ghost hunting experts. Episode 13 takes them to every ghost hunter's holy grail, the Paranormal Research Foundation. This brooding, derelict mansion holds secrets and clues about bizarre experiments that took place there in the 1970s. But it's also famously haunted, and the teams hope their scientific techniques and high-tech gear will prove it. But as the house begins to reveal itself to them, proof of an afterlife might not be everything Matt dreamed of. A story told in broken pieces in tapes, journals, and correspondence. This is the story of episode 13 and how everything went terribly, terribly wrong. I'm a sucker for not so much haunted mansions, but asylum type stories. And this, I don't know why, but this reminds me of like a haunted asylum type story, probably because of the awful experiments that went on there. But I also like found footage films that have that idea of people going in to either a haunted house or an asylum and not coming back out, only their tape footage being found. And this has a very strong feeling of that, and so kind of excites me. The next one is another horror story. It's also getting a lot of love on booktube right now, and that's The Exorcist House by Nick Roberts. Here's the synopsis. In the summer of 1994, psychologist Daniel Hill buys a rustic farmhouse nestled in the rolling hills of West Virginia. Along with his wife, Nora, and their teenage daughter, Alice, the family uproots their lives in Ohio and moves south. At first, they are seduced by the natural beauty of the farm and enjoy a bonding experience of fixing the old house. But all that changes when they discover a hidden room in the basement with a well-boarded shut and adorned with crucifixes. So there's a door that's been boarded shut, and it has crucifixes all over it. Local legends about the previous owner's predilection for performing exorcisms come to light, but by then, all hell has broken loose. I like the idea of finding a room that's not only boarded up, but has like religious or spiritual type of protection surrounding it. If I bought a house and found that kind of room, man, I would want to go in there, but at the same time, hell no. So I like the idea of this story. Two more here. The Strange by Nathan Ballengred. This is his most recent novel, I believe. And it's 1931, New Galveston, Mars. 14-year-old Annabelle Crisp sets off through the wastelands of the Strange to find Silas Munt's gang, who have stolen her mother's voice, destroyed her father, and left her solely with a need for vengeance. This is a Western. Since Annabelle's mother left for Earth to care for her own ailing mother, her days in New Galveston have been spent at school and her nights in her laconic father's diner with Watson, the family kitchen engine and dishwasher, as her only companion. When the silence came, the communication and shipments from Earth to its colonies on Mars stopped. Life seemed stuck in foreboding stasis until the night Silas Munt and his gang attacked. So this is really interesting. It's a Western that takes place on Mars. I want to read it solely for that. Like, seriously. All right, last up here. Actually, it's not last, but I've been wanting to read this book since it came out, but I was a little bit weary because when Stephen King comes out with a new book, I'm just not too sure if I'm going to like it. But I'm pretty sure I'm actually going to like this one after hearing a lot of reviews on it. So it's Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Here's the synopsis. Charlie Reed looks like a regular high school kid, great at baseball and football, a decent student, but he carries a heavy load. His mom was killed in a hit-and-run accident when he was 10, and grief drove his dad to drink. Charlie learned how to take care of himself and his dad. Then, when Charlie is 17, he meets Howard Bowditch, a recluse with a big dog in a big house at the top of a big hill. But the backyard is a locked shed from which strange sounds emerge, as if some creature is trying to escape. When Mr. Bowditch dies, he leaves Charlie the house, a massive amount of gold, a cassette tape telling a story that is impossible to believe, and a responsibility far too massive for a boy to shoulder. Because within the shed is a portal to another world, one whose denizens are in peril and whose monstrous leaders may destroy their own world and ours. In this parallel universe, where two moons are, where two moons race across the sky, and ground tower and the grand towers of sprawling palace pierce the clouds, there are exiled princesses and princes who suffer horrific punishments. There are dungeons. There are games in which men and women must fight each other to the death for the amusement of the fair one. And there is magic. There is a magic sundial that can turn back time. So this just sounds like a lot of fun. Honestly, I'm not big on portal fantasy, but I like the idea of this being somewhat of a father-son story. And I also like the idea, I know that there's a big relationship between the dog and the boy that's in this story, and I've heard it's quite good. So I'm hoping to really enjoy that. Now there is one more. I kept saying that was the last one, but I really I might read this one next. And so I'm going to just pull it up here. I forgot to put it on my list here. And that's Deathstalker by Simon R. Green. This was on a recent TBR, but I never got to it. But here's the synopsis again. The Iron Bitch. Her Imperial Majesty Lionstone the 14th ruled the human empire with fear. From peasants to masters of the galaxy, most powerful families, all were subject to the Queen's unpredictable decrees of outlawing and death. Owen Deathstalker, unwilling head of his clan, sought to avoid the perils of the Empire's warring fractions, but unexpectedly found a price on his head. He fled to Mistworld, where he began to build an unlikely force to topple the throne. A broken hero, an outlawed Haddon man, a thief, and a bounty hunter. With their help, the Deathstalker took the first step to a far more dangerous journey to claim the role for which he'd been destined since before his birth. So this sounds like just like a lot of fun, and I heard that there's some crazy things going on in this book. And if you've ever read Simon R. Green's Night World, Night Watch, I forget the name of the... Anyways, if you've ever... Let me see here. I'll click on his name, and it'll take me to his books, something from, or the Nightside books, which I have read a good 5 or 6 of those books. If you've ever read Nightside, you know that Simon R. Green has one hell of an imagination, and I heard that his imagination is really exploited in the Deathstalker books. All right, so that is my TBR. Please wish me luck that I might actually tackle a lot of these books, because they all look very fun. And if you made it this far in the video, please leave me some spaceships down there in the darkness, and I'll leave you some spaceships in return. Thank you for watching. Keep being creative and keep being safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next bookish video.